So if you, well, actually, I've just thought to myself, if I try and do it via email, email will probably reject it because the file size will be massive.
Exactly.
So it won't work via email. So guys,
No.
you'll need to contact me via Messenger, and I will send you the Zoom link, which you had for this joining this group, and I will send you the what? It's asking me to confirm my language. Okay, right. Never had that before. Yeah, send me a messenger message, and I send you the Zoom link, and then when you click on it, it should give you the option to download it to whatever device you're using. All right, but guys, that's down to you to work out how to do that, because sorry, did someone just speak?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, who did? Angelina.
I did. Angelina, if you go to the dots that says more, right, there's an option about transcript, and what it can happen is it brings up a little square, so as I'm talking it just almost like types everything out.
Oh,
So
right.
Yep. Or
What,
whatever you're
captions?
speaking. Yeah, it's the tiny little. So if you look at your toolbar at the bottom, it's got more, what it should say.
Yeah, I've just done it. I've just
Yeah.
clicked on captions, so it's now transcribing what you're saying.
So it transcribes what you're, yeah.
Oh, I don't.
So is it
Right.
savable?
I'm not sure about that. I think that
Yeah.
it's just an option so that people can
Ugh.
actually read it without perhaps catching what somebody's saying.
Yeah, I don't want to
Yes, you
see the
can-
captions on the screen.
I'm sorry to interrupt. You can, on that same thing, when you click and it says see full transcript, you click on that. And then at the bottom, it says save transcript. You can save it. And like I save it right to my computer and then title it afterwards. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, wonderful. Yeah, if you guys know how to do it, feel free. Some of that's just going right over my head.
Goodness gracious.
Great balls of fire.
Yeah.
So, hello, Barbara. Hello, everyone. Oh, here we go. Someone more. My goodness. I wonder if my mouse gets tired from all the clicking. Oh, my goodness. 86 people. I don't even know 86 people. Well, except now.
Hello?
Hello? Ooh, hello. There's a voice from beyond.
Yeah, if you look to your left, I've got the parrot on my shoulder.
Oh, hello. Hello. That's Roy speaking.
That's Roy, yes. I'm a friend of Carol's.
Are you?
Carol Padbury.
Padbury. Yes. Hello, Roy.
In fact, we both sat in circle with Leslie for years.
Well, this is it. We're going to get to this when... where's Phil? Phil? I can't see Phil. Where is he?
Yeah.
He was
I'm
on
here,
stage.
Andrew.
Oh, there he is. It's
I'm
just
definitely here.
he vanished into the ether. I was like, no, don't leave me. Don't leave me. Right, Phil. So, look, people aren't here to listen to me. As much as that may be delightful, tonight is about...
Andrew.
well, okay, well, yeah, then maybe they do want to listen to me a little bit. But no, this is all about you. And all about Leslie. And all about your recollections. So, shall I just hand it over to you and say...
Yeah, you can do. Thanks very much.
Now, should we make you speaker so people can see you more bigger?
Yeah, I'm going to share my screen as well straight away.
Oh, lovely. Oh, there you go. Oh, I've never seen him so big.
Are you going to mute everybody apart from me?
Yeah, I can do that. You'll need to unmute yourself. I'm now going to mute everyone. So you need to unmute. Right. You're still muted, Phil. When I mute people, it mutes everyone apart from me.
Right, can you hear me now?
Go. Yeah, we can hear you loud and clear.
Is the screen okay?
Yeah,
Andrew?
no, that's... Guys, can you see that screen clearly?
Yes.
Give me a... All right, someone shouted yes.
Well, it should
Excellent.
be muted.
Yeah, how did they do that?
I'm clever.
Ah, excellent. Well, at least we've got one clever person. Sorry, I shouldn't say that.
Don't know who it is, though, do you?
I do, it's Bill.
That's right.
Of course, I recognise you
but I can't see a picture of anybody. I don't know how to do
In
that.
the corner there, look.
Scott Phil, but that's about it. How
yes.
do I get the rest of the people?
That's right. That's because I highlighted Phil so that he's bigger on the screen.
Oh, right. I've got
maybe-
Leslie big on my screen.
Oh yeah, no, so have we too.
All right. Okay, go on. Carry on.
Cool.
Sorry.
That's right.
You root it anyway.
I see we've got a troublemaker on board already. Right, assuming you can hear me. As you know, my name's Phil. I know Andrew quite a few years. I first met him at Cober Hill some years ago. And he obviously drew my attention because they had an evening where people could volunteer to do their own thing, like trance or clairvoyant dems. And Andrew was brave enough to go out there and do a trance demo. And I must admit, it was just stunning. And ever since then, I've taken a lot of interest in what Andrew does. And I've been on some of his workshops, and he's very good with the way he teaches, be very patient and everything else. Anyway, let's get back to the talk. Andrew asked me to do this talk, mainly because, you know, people like me are gradually disappearing, people that have been on these you know, met some of these mediums of the past, and I thought, you know, it would be a shame if I lost all this information. And I must say tonight, I have to thank Carl from the Leslie Flint Trust for helping so much, especially on the tape that I had. I took a tape along to Leslie Flint's sitting, and it was one of those old-fashioned cassette tapes. They weren't very good. You get a lot of noise on them, and you know, it's virtually 50 years old, this tape. So it had to be recovered a bit and sorted out and put onto digital, which has been done. And it will be going on to the Leslie Flint Trust website. I'll talk about that in a minute. Now, my interest in this sort of mediumship was stemmed from, you know, I won't go into too much, but when I was growing up, I used to have a lot of phenomena take place in the flats where we lived, and I was always interested in spirit and that. My parents were C of E. They sent me off to Sunday school, doing Church of England type stuff, and but underlying it all, there was a sort of element of fascination with the idea of the spirit people and ghosts and all that sort of stuff. So that drew me in more than I wouldn't say I, you know, lost anybody that I really knew in the family that made me start to think about spiritualism and start getting involved more in spiritualism. It was more to do with my fascination in what I would call at that time the unseen world. And to that end, in 1973, I probably walked through the doors of my first spiritualist church. And I wouldn't say I was that impressed. They've back in those days, it was very well, it's orthodox sort of way of approaching spiritualism. I mean, I'd call it that. I mean, a lot of the hymns are very old hymns that quite often they were Christian based, and the services were quite solemn. Mediumship quite often formed a smaller element because they had a separate speaker instead of just a medium on the platform, and sometimes they spoke for quite a long time. And as an impatient young person, I used to sit there thinking, I wish this speaker would stop, especially after 30, 40 minutes. I wanted the demos. I wanted to see the evidence for this afterlife and the whole thing with spiritualism and the whole phenomena of spiritualism. And as we were going to the church, we met up with quite a few people, and there was a lovely family called the Webbs. There were Frank, Vi, and Wynne. And Frank and Wynne were married, and Vi was Wynne's mother. And they lived in masonettes, one above the other. Frank and Wynne on the ground floor, and Vi on the top floor. And they invited us to join their circle, and it was a physical circle, which obviously was the thing I was really more interested in than anything else, is the phenomena of spiritualism. And so we decided, me and my ex decided to join, and we sat with them for quite a number of months, and I think it was about 18 months in two separate occasions. It might have been more. It's so long ago I can barely remember, but I do remember Frank's. He was a lovely, very sincere, compassionate man, and they went to a Leslie Flint sit-in, and when he came back, he was so full of it. He said, "Why didn't I go to one?" So you know, I thought, well, that'd be interesting, good opportunity. I mean, back in those days, I was 24 years old when I went to this sitting. I was a very different person. I had shoulder length hair. I was a bit of a hippie, bit of a renegade, and I was quite different in my outlook. You've got to remember, it was the early days of me getting involved in this sort of thing. So I was still looking for the evidence of spiritualism. And so we went along to the séance, as you can see, on the 3rd of November, 1975, with Leslie Flint. And now I'm going to work my way through the slides, and we eventually hear clips from the séance. So there's a little bit of background on Leslie. Was born in Hackney, London, United Kingdom, on the 21st of January 1911. He died 16th of April 1994, and he was very famous by the time we went there as a direct voice medium. And basically, the way that the voices occurred around Leslie is he didn't use any paraphernalia in these circles like trumpets or anything like that. It was purely him sitting in total darkness, and his voices would appear. It was something that he also developed. You know, I mean, he obviously had some voices, things like that, but to do regular sittings for people, and also in larger premises, you know, halls and everything, he had to develop it to that level because to guarantee results. This is the book that is the main thing you need to read if you're interested in Leslie. It's available on the Leslie Flint Trust website through Carl, and also on eBay. And I think it's a very good book to get hold of if you can. It's a fascinating read of the story of Leslie Flint, right from childhood on through his adult life. And it's just fascinating, really. It's well worth having a look. So make a note of that. Voices in the Dark. I'll give you a moment to make a note of that if you want. And this is the website with all the information. I said Carl Jackson Barnes is a trustee, I think it's called, on that for the Leslie Flint Trust. And he's done an enormous work bringing all the material that Leslie left onto the website, making it freely available to people. I think at the moment there's been an issue with the sound clips from various seances, but they're working towards fixing that. But you can go on there and you find out lots more about Leslie Flint. So this talk really is about my experience on going to a Leslie Flint seance and what it's like really to go to something like that. This is a picture of Leslie, and his seances are mainly, if you know anything about ectoplasmic-based seances, where he sits in total darkness, and this substance extruded from the medium himself and the sitters are involved as well, produces this material that can be molded by the spirit people, and in this case, molded into a voice box to allow the spirit people to come through in their own voices and talk. It's outside of the medium's body. That's the thing to remember. It's not Leslie talking in trance. It's voices, if you like, if they were occurring in total light, you know, they just seem like they're appearing out of thin air. This is where we went, Westbourne Terrace. It's in Paddington, London, UK. And Leslie had a flat, or Americans call them apartments. I think he had a basement flat, and that's where we went. I mean, it was we didn't live too far from London, so it wasn't a major journey. It was probably about an hour or so to get there. But obviously, when we arrived, I mean, it was quite an imposing building. So for me, arriving there, I thought, oh, what's this going to be like? You know, the old heart begins to flutter a bit, and you think, oh. And I remember going with my circle friends. I think we met some of them there, and the others travelled with us. Certainly the Webb family did as well. And I do remember, you know, obviously it's a long time ago. I remember walking up the steps. And I remember there was various doorbells, obviously other people in different parts of the building. And Leslie had a very nice flat indeed. This is a picture of Mickey, Leslie's main guide. He was like the master of ceremonies, where he was he was the one spirit person who strung the whole thing together, and you'll see that as you listen to the clips. And so you can imagine me, I go into this room and we sat down in quite comfortable chairs, all of us, and we, you know, got ourselves settled. And I found Leslie to be a very charming man, actually. He talked to us normally, and it all seemed a bit strange, really. We come here, and then suddenly we were going to be sitting there listening to voices from the beyond. You know, I was in the back of my mind, I thought, well, I'm interested to hear what they say. And I was interested, obviously, from the point of view, are they going to say anything evidential to me? Am I going to find out anything about the afterlife and the things that I only knew about 2 people then that passed to the spirit world being young, my grandfather and my dad's brother. So I was obviously very keen to hear from them, especially my grandfather, because I was incredibly close to him. And you can read that bit there. I mean, the seance, what happens is that, you know, once you're settled in, the lights were all turned off and it was pitch black. And I really mean pitch black. I mean, you could put your hand right up to your eyeball and you couldn't see it there. It was that dark. It really was so dark. And it was quite a large room with high ceilings. There were big windows and large, thick curtains. And it was just so well blacked out. It was incredible. And you can ask yourself, well, why have we got to sit in total darkness? And if you think about it, if this phenomena happened all the time around us in normal daylight, I mean, we'd live in a very confusing world, wouldn't we? If the spirit people could speak to us and we saw materialized figures all the time and everything. I mean, people do experience these sort of phenomena in daylight, but it's rarer. Let's put it like that. So in this tape, I'm going to start playing you now. I'm referred to as Philip rather than Phil. That's what my birth name was. And I stuck with that for quite a few years. And then I found people gradually shortened mine, especially when I was at work. And although initially I tried to correct them to get them to say Philip, in the end I thought I'll let them do it. So I just became Philip. It was a lot easier. So when you hear the reference to Philip, that's me. I mean, Mickey comes through and you'll hear his voice. What I've done here is I've recorded this opening clip and I've left it in right from the start to give you some idea how long it took for Mickey to actually come through and talk to everybody. And he's great fun when you listen. I'm going to play it now.
On the 3rd of November 1975, Regan Leslie Flint. Vicky?
That's Leslie's voice.
Someone give me a thumbs up if you can hear it, to make sure you can hear it, guys.
Vicky?
Yeah, I can hear it.
Perfect, thank you.
Hello, Mickey. How are you? I'm fine, thank you. And how are you? Well, I'm looking for your name. Yeah, me too. I'm moving around because I can hear better with the left ear. What's wrong with it? I think I might plugged up. Who's that? Who was there, Mickey? I've met some of them people before now. Yes, you met some, but not all, Mickey. Mickey, can you get louder? What's up with you, Lee? I've got a bit of a cold from somewhere all of a sudden. Developed. Who's that young fella? That's right, Philip. I haven't seen good, do you? I only feel good, Mickey. You try your best, do you? Yes, I do. I'll provocate you up, mate. That little fat woman. Oh, I'm real, Nicky. I can hear you. How are you, Joe? Little pal out here, no. I know. You do that for work. I don't do it, but you've been telling me I shouldn't. You've told me that 2 or 3 times. I did what? You've told me 2 or 3 times I should be. Well, I'll get you doing spiritual work, mate. There's a lot of power with you. So you told me that. You're a proper little bugger, ain't ya? Oh, you are cute. I haven't seen that other brother.
I think he's new, Mickey. I don't think he's been before.
What about that for you? No, not Mickey. Oh. Yeah. No, dear, what's coming up? That gentleman is new to it, is he? Yeah. You've got something in your pocket belonging to somebody.
I haven't, you know.
What'd you say?
I haven't.
Well, that's funny. There's a young man here who's very interested in you. And he wants you to know he's here. And he's talking about his dad. I think you must know about this lad and his people. Hold on.
Someone tried to do
He's laughing all over his chops. He says he's Tom.
Tom?
You know Tommy?
Yeah, I know him.
Well then,
I'm waiting for him to do something for me.
what do you expect him to do for you then?
You ask him.
You're a more good customer. You got nothing.
Yeah, so that was the introduction. If you could hear Leslie's voice, he was the one that said he had a cold, and you'll hear him coughing throughout the whole séance on and off. You know, Leslie will speak at the same time as Mickey. So somebody's not muted, Andrew.
It's most probably me, sorry.
Yeah, just make sure you mute it, guys. Just keep the
I don't know how to do it.
Just comes out over it.
What name is
Yeah,
it? I
sorry.
can mute you on my screen.
I'm under Bill, I suppose, aren't I? Or Mary? Is it Mary?
Hey.
Is there a picture
Anyway,
of
I'll
us?
carry on.
Sorry. I'll try and keep quiet.
I love Zoom.
So do I wish I understood it. We'll keep quiet anyway.
Anyway, I'll carry on. Yeah, so you heard the opening there. I mean, basically, Mickey goes around all the sitters and introduces them with Leslie if necessary. And he also makes some cracks, jokes at people and everything else. I mean, what he says to me there, he says, "Are you windy?" Meaning you're scared to death of sitting in a seance. I wouldn't have gone that far, but I mean, anybody would be a bit sort of wondering what it was going to be like. And now I'm going to continue with some of the other people that came through in the seance, and you'll hear Mickey talking at various times. You easily recognise his voice now, and then you'll hear various people come through. This one, that picture there is Leslie with have his mouth taped, because obviously an accusation has put him that it's ventriloquism and everything else. And Leslie submitted to a lot of tests over the years. Some of them were, difficult ones, but physically to do. And I think eventually, after quite endless tests, I think he said enough was enough. So I mean, I think Carl would tell you more about that side of it. Anyway, this next piece is a circle helper, because there were various people that came into our circle to help in various ways. I mean, it was early days in the circle at that point, and the whole message throughout this sitting with Leslie was to keep going with the encouragement, and they were demonstrating that they were there. And and they'd promise, you know, results in the end. And this is David speaking here. I'm just going to play this one.
A soldier who was in the 1418 war. Show him a circle thing? Yeah. We've had a soldier with his captain that many times. Yes. There's a soldier fella here killed in the 1418 war. 1918 war, I mean. And he's so interested in you, some of them. Is it David? And he's laughing all over his chops, his scotch. Yeah, that's David. Hello, David. Hello, David.
I'm not quite sure if you can hear me.
David.
I want you to know I'll see there's a whole crowd of souls. You know, we're quite happy about the meetings.
Oh, good, David.
We want you to continue, you know, to give up now. Don't go down in the dumps.
No,
you know we're doing everything we can. Can you hear now?
Yes, David.
I'm not quite sure if you can hear what I'm saying. That's the problem, you know. Tommy's here.
God bless you.
He wants you to know he's prison now, and he wants to get through and talk to you for a few minutes if I can. But there's a whole crowd of souls here. We want you to continue the meetings. Don't get depressed. Keep up the settle.
David, did you come from Aberdeen?
Aye.
Ah, good.
But you know, I've been here a good few years because I came here in the 49 war. That's a few years back now.
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes, David. Yes, we can hear you.
I'm not quite sure at times if you're here. You know, it's very difficult for us sometimes to judge exactly whether we're getting through now.
Yes, we can hear you clearly. Thank you for coming to the circle.
So that was David who came through then, and it's interesting, isn't it, the way they ask whether they can be heard. I think most of the spirit people that came through asked that question, apart from Mickey. And anyway, this next one is Tommy. He's another circle help. Somebody comes into the circle, and you might remember there was a question of in the intro section about, you know, that chap asked what he had in his pocket, and Tommy sort of explains what that was all about in this one.
Hello, Tommy. Hello. Speak up, cousin.
Doing my best. Doing my best.
Yes, we know you do. You come to the circle, Tommy?
You know I do.
Yes, you gave us a tapping, didn't you? Thank you very much.
I do. I possibly gave the original my presence one way or another. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, come on, Ben. What do you want me to do? You know.
Well, you play that mouth organ, don't we?
Well, maybe.
Maybe.
Maybe, eventually.
Eventually, yeah. But it's nice of you to come anyway, Tommy.
You've got it with you.
Have you got it with you? No, it's
Second, I thought perhaps you'd have it in your pocket. I told Nicky that you'd probably have the mouth organ in your pocket. I thought you'd bring it with you.
Oh, that was what he wanted. Yeah. No, we need it at 5.
What'd you say?
We need it at 5.
Well, that's all right. You can bring it to the bush with it.
Oh, you could go.
Well,
Not on the piano, is it?
good, you can put it in your pocket. It's not that big. I would have played it probably if you'd have bought it.
Just drop it.
But one day I'll play it in the circle.
You will bless it.
I do my best anyway. Can you hear what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I wish I could speak louder, but I suppose eventually when one gets in the habit, it's not so bad. I'll be able to do much better. It's just a matter of getting used to it. Keep on the meetings, that means a lot to us. We'll get through it now.
Yes, good. Is Shushu there, Tommy?
Yeah, she's here.
Finish it up with the
Yeah, so that's quite an interesting section. There's a reference to somebody called Vivian, who was quite a medium in his day. And this leads really on to the next one, where this was one of those voices that really fascinated me, because he came through, announced his name was Deacon, and I always thought it was spelt like it says there, Deacon. So obviously when Google came along, I tried to look him up, couldn't find him, anything about him at all. And he came through in the circle and said he wanted to help. He was interested in the circle and everything else. And I think that's what happens in these physical and other circles. A lot of activity goes on in the background and you're not always aware of it. But obviously, once the communication really gets going through the trance mediumship or independent voice or any other means, then you start to really get the information flow. And so I'm going to play this clip now. But I never really knew who this chap was until I sent this clip to Carl at the Trust a few years ago. And basically, he identified him for me. And this is the clip.
It's possible that it's made repeating an old crowd of souls. Some of them you don't know, and some, of course, you do by coming often in the past. But the whole crowd of souls here, I can remember having seen so many people gathered around as there are here today. And I know that they're very thrilled and very excited about so many things that are going on in regard to your development. Of course, these things take time. One has to be infinitely patient, but certainly you may have great possibilities as a group. I wouldn't be a bit surprised if at some later date you have some very strong physical phenomena. This business of the mouth organ, for instance, I wouldn't be a bit surprised if a young friend there plays there. Don't be surprised anything could happen. It's tremendous, you know. Just a moment.
That's right, that's it, Vivian.
Because you probably have never heard of me, and there's no reason why you should. After all, I'm an entirely different generation. But you know, I was something of a medium myself, if I may say so. My name is Deacon.
Deacon?
Yes, I was well known in the spiritualistic world in my day, and I was something of a medium anyway. And I'm very interested and fascinated with everything here that's going on. I'm relatively happy to be of service, and I shall come and see you and help you as best I can. Although actually, of course, you have some marvelous souls, guides, friends who've been helping you for quite a while. But I'd like to cooperate and be of some help if I can. You know, this tremendous physical power there in your group. I don't know if you realize this, but there is tremendous physical power which I'm sure will be eventually utilized for the furtherance of the work. If you stay together in harmony and in balance, I'm sure you will. The power is circulating, tremendously active. Power is happening very much here now, as a matter of fact. I think before very long you should be getting some very strong physical mediumship developing. Anyway, we're quite happy about everything. As I speak for myself, anyway, I must go, but my blessings and, well, we just happen, you know, these things sometimes can be a little depressing, perhaps weeks later by, nothing much happens, but you'll see the development taking place. Anyway, I must go. I just want to talk to you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you. God bless you.
Yeah, I think that one's really interesting to me, although it doesn't, the content of what he says is helpful, but it's, basically you want to know more about him, don't you, really know who he is? And this is where I go on to the next clip. It turns out it's Alfred Deacon. And when I was at the Arthur Findlay College Open Week this year, had a book sale on, and there's this book about him. I couldn't believe it. And it was only, a year or two before that Carl had identified him who he actually was. And the interesting thing is that Carl had a clip. We had a tape, I presume, the whole seance, but he had a clip from Alfred Deakin of him talking in 1973. A group of Australian people came over for a seance with Leslie, and he came through then, and this is the clip.
I think it might be possible, but I doubt it.
Hello? It sounds very possible.
My name is Deacon.
Your name is what?
My name is Deacon. Deacon.
To whom do you want to speak?
Yes.
Do you know him?
My name is Deacon. Yes.
Alfred Deakin?
My name is Deacon. Alfred Deacon? Yes, I wanted to speak to you, but I'm not very good at it, I'm afraid. I suppose it's like so many things. When you're more familiar or au fait with it, you manage better. I'm trying desperately to speak a few words. I just wanted you to know I'm here and that I'm endeavoring to help you back home.
Thank you very much.
And remember me to everyone there.
Yes,
Tell them that I'm doing everything in my power to assist from this side.
Thank you.
I hope you have a good journey home. My blessings to everyone. Goodbye.
Thank you very much, sir.
Who was he?
He was Alfred Deakin. He was the president of the Victorian Spiritualist Union in 1874. He was the Prime Minister of Australia.
Good Lord. He had a very cultured sort
Yes,
of
I
voice.
heard his voice before on Direct Voice. That was him.
Really?
Yes. Yes, it was marvelous. That is very, very evidential. Very evidential indeed.
It's not every day of the week ex-Prime Minister of Australia comes through on a seance and speaks to your circle, is it? That's quite a thing. But that was the interesting thing is at the start of that clip he says, I think it might be possible, and that's almost the same words he says in the seance that I went to, and that was him coming through 2 years earlier in 1973. It just shows you there's a lot when you sit in these circles. I've just said there's a lot going on in the background, especially in physical circles. Yeah, I'll carry on with a few more voices for you, different people. This is somebody called Gertrude. Now, Wynne referred to her a bit. I've left out this clip. Sister Gertrude. And she'd come through on previous sitting that Frank and Wynne and Fired had. I didn't go to that one, so they'd already spoken to her. And you'll notice her voice is a lot stronger, and that comes through most of these sittings with Leslie. When they first come through, they often struggle, and sometimes they don't. They try to talk, and they can't talk very well, and they give up. Other times they soldier on, and the voice gradually gets stronger. But this one's quite clear.
I do not know if you can hear me. Yes. My name is Gertrude. Bless you all. I've been standing here waiting for an opportunity just to come to say a few words. Well, there's no doubt about it. The power that is being generated and circulated is tremendous, and I'm sure that we shall have remarkable manifestations eventually. We're all working to that one end, you know. So, your young soul, can you hear me, sir?
Yes.
Mr. Philip, how are you? I expect you're very puzzled and rather bewildered by all this, and I can appreciate, of course, how you feel. It must seem very strange and very odd to you, and possibly because you're, as it were, on the very fringe. But nevertheless, I do hope that you will continue to delve a little deeper, and we hope maybe at some future time we may be able to use you, because strange as it may seem to you, there is tremendous activity around you, great power, and you could healer.
I feel the activity sometimes, it doesn't feel like anybody's around me.
Well, it will come, given time and patience. Would you know by any chance who Edith is? I'm referring to someone here, and her name is Chapman. She's given me her surname, which is Edith Chapman, and she wishes to be remembered, and she sends her love and blessings. She tells me, it's all right, madam, she says that she was a nurse for many years in a hospital, and for some reason or other, she seems very drawn to Philip. You have no knowledge, of course, of this person, I appreciate that.
No, I don't know the person. At the moment, I don't remember them.
I'm sorry that I have to continue with this rather odd message. You've never presumably had any connections with Kentish Town.
I used to live near there, yeah.
Ah, well, this woman says that she lived at Kentish Town, and she was a nurse, and she knew your people when you were quite a small child. But did your people live near Kentish Town?
Yes, they lived and worked in that sort of area of London.
Well, this must be what it's all about. You wouldn't remember her, but she seems to know you. Would you, as a small child, were you ever in hospital?
Yes, I was for a time, yes.
Well, this is it. She seems to have taken such an interest in you, and I think she must have nursed you in this particular hospital when you were a small lad. And she's almost, as it were, acting as a foster mother. At least she seems to have taken such a keen interest in you, and she's extraordinary. She knows you, and she said, oh yes, she said, when you was a small child, I lived nursing in hospital, and it was near Kentish Town. She keeps on about she lived in Kentish Town, and she was a nurse in a London hospital.
Perhaps our mother would remember her more than me.
Possibly. Possibly.
I was in hospital for a time when I was very young.
When you were about 5 or 6 or something like that?
About 4 or 5.
There's something of that sort. How interesting. I wonder if your mother will remember her. Anyway, whether she does or whether she does not, she wishes for you to know that she's very anxious to be of help, and she takes a great interest in you. It's most extraordinary.
Can you ask her why she's interested in me?
Oh, don't get worried about it. It's just motherly affection. You know, sometimes some people who dedicated their lives to the service of others, such as a nurse, who may not, I gather she did not marry, drawn to certain children, perhaps. I think she must have had a fondness for children. I think she seems very interested in you. It's extraordinary, perhaps, from your point of view, but I wouldn't let that worry.
Yeah, I mean, that's an interesting clip, isn't it, really? I mean, my mother was a nurse, and she worked at the Whittington Hospital, which is in Archway, which is quite near to where we were living at the time. And I did go into hospital a couple of times when I was young, firstly with double pneumonia when I was about 4 years old, and then later when I had tonsils removed. In those days, they used to bit of a sore throat and they'd take you in hospital and whip your tonsils out. I don't even know what tonsils are anymore. I haven't got any. But yeah, and I vaguely remember a nurse that took a bit of a shine to me there. But I mean, I asked my mother if she couldn't remember her, and I did try and look her up on family history sites, you know, through the census and other various means, birth tests and marriages and stuff, and I couldn't track her down, which was very frustrating because here we've got a case where you've got the first and the second name. So if anybody wants to look into that for me, they're welcome to. I'll be absolutely fascinated if you find out more about her. This is the one that at the time really, I mean, it took me back a bit really because this chap came through and said he wanted to work with me through trance mediumship. And to be honest, I never ever considered anything like that back when I was 24. And as Andrew would tell you now, it's a bit my thing these days. And he came through, and I'm just going to play you this clip straight off. Oh, in that picture, you see the old reel-to-reel tape records they had. Now we've got little smartphones in our pockets. But that's what you had to carry around with you if you wanted to record anything. Here's the clip.
I like to speak to Philip. I like to come and talk with you. I don't know if you hear me. No? Yes, I can hear you. That's speaking to me. I like very much, come and talk with you. I don't know if you understand, huh? Yes, I can hear you. Understand, yes. Can you tell me what your name is? My name is Louis. Louis? I like, come and talk with you because it is, I hope, one day I like for me to use you to speak through you and help people, I've been here now a long time, I've been here. I come here the war, I scared, huh? Which war was that? The last war. The last war. I was killed in Italy, you know? You hear me, no? Yes, I can hear you. How do you want to work with me? Well, I like to help people through you, you gotta be a good medium, huh? You got a good power, huh? I could help people in many ways, huh? You never think of yourself as a medium, huh? Perhaps want to be a medium, huh? But when a day comes, maybe, huh? I'll be able to work with you and other people, huh? I do much good for people, huh? If you let me. I hope you will be able to work for me, yeah. You are no doctor, huh? Yes, I hope you can work. You're no doctor. No, you find it difficult, huh? You're not no good at it, yet, huh? No. But when I work with you, huh? I tell you many things. I tell you many things when you don't know, but I give you guide, help, when you say, no, huh? How you say? When you're in a mess, huh? I'm in a mess a lot of the time. Yeah, but a lot of it is your fault. Good experience, but you come out of a tunnel, huh?
Yeah, that's an interesting clip there. He said that he helps me when I'm in a mess. Oh, I love that.
And you're still not doing nothing with your trance, though, are you?
Oh, don't tell me off, Andrew.
What, you're still waiting, are you? Still
I'm waiting, yeah. I'm waiting. Anyway.
There's a good job that bloke's dead, isn't it?
I can tell you a bit more about it in the talk at the end of questions, if you like. Here we go with the next clip. Yeah, I mean, at this point in the seance, I'm thinking, well, I've got all these people I don't know, interested in me, etc. But there's no sign of, the two people I didn't know in the spirit world at that stage. I mean, now I know more people that are in the spirit world than in the physical, I think. But back then, there was only a couple of people I knew. As I said, there, my grandfather and my dad's brother, Jack. I had a little story about Jack because when we lived in these police flats, now my dad was a policeman, we lived in these flats, and I used to get a lot of noises, especially from furniture and stuff like that in my room at night, and if I ever mentioned it to my mum, it was always like, oh, you're imagining stuff and everything else. But one of the things I didn't imagine was when my dad's brother tragically passed away from polio in Kenya. They started to get a lot of rapping in my parents' bedroom at night off this table. And initially it was just like taps and a bit like the Hydesville thing. And then it developed on from there. And then even when they turned the light on, it was still going, whereas previously it stopped. And my only knowledge of all this, because I was quite young then, was that this table mysteriously appeared in my bedroom. And I remember it was a hideous sort of big brown walnut sort of table. And I remember querying at the time, why on earth this table had been put in my room? And it was only years later when I found out that my dad was working shifts and everything. He didn't want to be woken up by it. So that's the story around Jack. And the thing was with it in the end, I mean, obviously later, after I was told the story, I decided it must have been Jack trying to come through to, say he was survived. And the interesting thing, that whole episode culminated in my mother seeing the materialized form of him in the room one day. So this is the bit where I sort of think, oh, I wonder if anybody else is there for me.
Anybody else there for us? Peter? Oh, so many people. Jacques. Yeah, someone here said we call Jacques. Yes, I've loved you. I know Jack. Can you come and speak to us? Monsieur de Norbis Bezos is Jacques. He's Jacques. Jacques. Yes, I know Jack. Can you speak to us? You want to make a finish? I go. I will say goodbye. Goodbye. It was good.
Yeah, so Jack never came through. I think the thing that interested me in that, I mean, on the original tape, it was hard to hear it, but he said that Jack was exhausted. I mean, that really puzzled me, really, what that's all about. I mean, he did die tragically quite young of polio. He had two jewellery shops out in various cities in Kenya when they were under British rule. And he unfortunately contracted polio and he passed away out there. And there's a bit of a backstory there. Anyway, we're coming towards the end now, so we move on to the end. I mean, how do these circles end? You're sitting there in the pitch dark. You've been sitting there for quite some time, hearing these voices coming through, and you wonder, who's going to be next? Because there was about 13, 14 different spirit people come through during that séance. And then, of course, I'm sitting there waiting in anticipation to see whether Jack will come through and talk to me. And then, obviously, the circle is coming to an end, and it is what happens afterwards. That's it. Comes to quite a quick close. There's a little bit of a discussion between us all in the dark, and then the lights are gradually turned back on. Because obviously you've been sitting in total darkness, and if the lights suddenly come on, it's really overwhelming. So it's a gradual thing. I can't remember where there was some sort of dimmer switch. I think he put on a table lamp or something to start with, something like that. Anyway, that's the end of the clips that I'm going to share with you today. There's just one more thing. Any questions? And I'll just point out about the Leslie Flint Trust, because obviously there's lots of things you would probably like to know about this sort of form of mediumship, and Leslie Flint himself. And I wouldn't say I'm an expert on it. I went to Leslie Flint séance. I've read his book. I've read quite a bit about him. I've listened to other sound clips of various people coming through. Some of these quite famous people, and they're fascinating to listen to. So I thoroughly recommend going to the leslieflint.com, and I'd recommend getting the book. So I'm going to stop sharing now, Andrew, if that's all right.
Okay, mate.
Here I am, back again.
Okay. So I'll just sort the view out so I can kind of see everyone. Let's put it on gallery. Okay, so if anyone's got a question for Phil, why don't you use the raise hand emoji like so, or just wave your hand furiously and use this opportunity to speak to a man that sat there. And yeah, so it's over to you guys. What I would also say is, Phil, how much? I mean, we've allocated a couple of hours for this. If this is halfway, do we want to allow people the time to have a toilet break roughly
Yeah, I
halfway
think
through?
that's a good idea. That's
Is that
brilliant idea. Well, you can do that now for 5
yeah,
minutes.
okay. So I'll pause the recording. For God's sake, remind me to press record again. All right, I'll pause recording. So if anyone wants to take a restroom break, now's the time. There you go. Just record my ugly face. Here he is.
Let me see.
Here's Phil.
I'm back again.
I'm here as well.
Jackie.
Jackie.
Yeah, Jackie. Jackie. Excellent. Who's wishing they had to watch Strictly instead?
Right.
Did someone say yes?
Right.
I think it's wonderful. So how do you want to run this, Phil? Do you just want to take any question from anyone that has a question? Or, and also,
I will add a bit of I will add a bit of a postscript onto it.
Yep, cool.
A year or so ago, a friend of ours, Debbie West, she runs Hertford Spiritualist Church. I was speaking to her about Leslie Flint. I did a couple of talks in local churches about him. And she said she went to a sitting with him in the 1980s. And she had a tape. I thought, oh, I said, I'd love to hear that tape. So I had the tape and I listened to it. And when I was listening to it, I thought, I recognise that voice on there. And it was Frank's voice from the circle that I used to sit in. And he carried on going to quite a few more sit-ins. And Debbie's tape was very interesting, really. Yeah, I mean, that's another story altogether.
Wow. And I guess there are some other people here that have sat with Leslie. So, Phil, do you have any? Do you have time for anyone else to sort of share a recollection if they wish to?
I think that'll be interesting. I mean, I did speak to Carl about it, and he estimated that between 8,000 and 9,000 sit-ins Leslie held over the years.
Wow.
I mean, it's a huge amount of sit-ins, isn't it?
Oh,
and so there's a lot of material out there, and there's a lot of material available on the Trust website, which should be, but it's been, apparently they were hacked a while ago and they've lost some of it, but they're restoring it. But I mean, it's interesting because quite a few of the clips are quite famous people.
Yeah.
You know, you're not talking about.
Is he recording it again?
Oh, yeah, he is.
Yeah.
And yeah, they're quite famous people, and it's very fascinating to hear their voices and what they've got to say.
Right. So if you have sat with Leslie and you want to share a recollection, do you want to raise your hand so that I know to go to you? Because there's 3 screens and I can't see all 3 screens worth of people at the same time. So, oh, hello. There was a hand went up, and then Diane, you had your hand up, but also Roy. Do you want to unmute yourself, Roy? Because I can't do it for you. And do you want to share whatever your recollection is? So just give yourself a moment just to unmute.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ah, right. Okay.
All right.
I just got, I sat with Leslie over about, I don't know, 15, 20 years.
Oh, wow.
And I actually sat in his home circle. So, me and Carol's on now tonight.
Yep.
Should be talking. No, it just I just brought me back with some evidence that I was a rep at the time, and I used to go around all my customers, and I got talking to a couple of guys in Croydon, and I said, talking about it. Oh, one said very interested, and his partner said, it's a load of rubbish. You can't talk to the dead. I said, well, if you like, why don't you come along to a circle? Nah. Anyway, cut a long story short, they came to the first circle. This first circle, we sat in Paddington, and as luck would have it, it was a dud. We sat there for about 15 minutes, and Leslie said, "I'm sorry, but it's not on today." And because the lights went on, and we went back. On the way back, Bill said, "I told you it was a load of," I won't say with the word he said it, but you know, can guess, load of absolute rubbish, he said. I said, "But look, he's honest enough to tell you it wasn't coming through." Anyway, a month later, I was talking to Leslie, and we arranged another séance. So I said to Bill and I can't think the other guy's name now, it's such a long time ago. Anyway, I said to them about it, and I said we convinced him in the end to come along again. So we sat in the circle in Paddington, and they came to Bill. And he said, well, because he was quite flustered, I said, "Look, we're telling you now," you know, I had a chat with him, "but there's someone in your office that's not acting right. He's stealing money from you." He said, "What?" I can't believe that. Anyway, cut a long story short, he went back to the office and found out there one of their employees, who was in a very trusted position, had been milking them for years. And he got rid of him. But, you know, I just always go back to that one, because it was so much evidence in that he was told one day, and went back and found out it was completely true, and the guy had been milking them for thousands.
Wow.
So, you know, just the fact that we used to go to Leslie's 4 times a year when he was in Paddington, and then Carol and I helped him move down to Hove. We found him a nice house in Hove, and we moved him down there, and we used to sit every week with him. We was very, very fortunate. I mean, it was a bit blasé for me, because, you know, people were, when you talk about a circle like Leslie's, they're all in wonderment. But to me, it was like an everyday occurrence. And Carol, of course, and her husband Martin, who's unfortunately passed. But I mean, very honoured to know Leslie and be a very good friend.
I mean, Roy, that just blows my mind. I mean, that's like being a football fan and like, you know, Bobby Moore saying, "Do you want to come around for a kick around every week?" And you're like, "What? Are you kidding me?" Like, I mean, reading the book blows my mind, but to listen and to know all of the things that you must have seen and heard, that it just fills me with just tremendous enthusiasm and kind of wonderment, really, about what you guys must have seen and heard.
Well, I must have sent about 15 to 20 tapes of seances to London. I can't remember who had them, but he very kindly put them all on CD and sent the CDs back to me. But I don't recall who I sent them to. But it was either the Psychic News or something like that in London. It might be you guys, actually. I don't know. I can't remember now. It's many years ago I sent.
Unbelievable. Is there any other recollections you want to share before we go to Carol, if she wants to share anything?
Me?
Yeah.
Well, I can't think of nothing offhand at the moment.
Okay.
I had well, you can guess that we had so much evidence from Leslie.
Yeah.
It was, well, we treated it like an everyday occurrence. It was a bit blasé, really, you know.
Yeah.
Quite strange. I'm sure Carol will fill you in on some circles.
Brilliant. Thanks ever so much, Roy, for that.
Pleasure.
Carol, no pressure there, love. But Carol, do you have any recollections that you'd like to share with us?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. I can hear you. There we go. I'll place you on a spotlight. There you go, Carol.
I'm there. Woo. Can you hear me?
We can hear you loud and clear.
All right. I actually, sorry, something's going wrong.
Don't worry, we can hear you fine.
I actually lived in Westbourne Grove. and feels wrong. He didn't go, oh, can you hear me?
Yeah, we
Yeah.
can.
Yeah, feels wrong. Westbourne Grove, he didn't go upstairs. He had to, can you hear me?
Yeah, yeah. He did say he was in a basement.
He was in the basement.
Yeah.
And his circle room, can you see me?
Yeah, we can see you. I mean, the picture's not great, but that doesn't matter, to be fair. We can hear you fine, Carol.
Right, hold on. I don't know what's going on. No, Leslie lived in the basement and he had a beautiful flat downstairs. Look, can you see me?
Carol. Yes.
Well, I can't see.
Yeah, we can see you, Carol, but the picture's stopping and starting, but we can hear you absolutely fine, my love.
Oh, I don't know what's going on. Oh, I can see me now. So Leslie used to have a circle in the old, it was the, oh, what do you call it? The horse carriages, right? It was there was a big slope and it was the old horses, whatever. Anyway, Martin and I actually lived in Westbourne Grove for 6 weeks. Oh, I'm not doing it, am I?
Yeah, you are. You are. You're fine.
I went to a séance with Leslie. Martin and I used to go a lot. And we were selling our flat and buying a new house. And he always said he wasn't clairvoyant. I knew Leslie very well. He always said, I'm not clairvoyant, you know. And so we're sitting while he sat on the throne. I called it a throne, but on a platform. And we, the seats were like theatre seats, because he used to do all the old silent films in there. The coach house, that's right. And we're sitting there waiting, and Leslie was always grumpy. Oh, come on, Mickey. And he used to puff and blow. Oh, come on, lovey. And I said to Leslie, I said, we've sold the flat, but we've got 6 weeks, 2 months before we can move. I said, I don't know what I'm going to do. He said, and he said to me before that, he said, it's not going to happen. I said, don't tell me that, Leslie. It's not good, the timing. He said, I'm sorry, Lappy. You'll have to come and live here. So what he did, he said to me, get all your furniture. He had 2 basements underneath him, a huge house. And we took all our furniture and he gave us the first floor flat for nothing. And can you hear me?
Yes, Carol.
Yeah, we can hear you.
I can't hear myself. And so we moved in, we put all our furniture in, and we moved in to the first floor flat. Leslie and Bram were underneath, and it was amazing. But what was incredible, I was in the theatre, I'm an actress, I was in the theatre, and Martin was in the flat on his own. I was in the theatre, and he suddenly, along this corridor, heard these footsteps, and it frightened the shit out of him. A monk walked down, and Martin, and he disappeared. And Martin said to Leslie the next day, Leslie, I saw a monk walk down the corridor. He said, "Oh, that's all right. That's just the monk. He's just checking you out." You know, that was Leslie. I knew Leslie very well. He came to our wedding. I've got photographs of him. As Roy said, we moved him down to Hove. He was the most, Phil, I'm sorry, you didn't do him justice because you really didn't know him. He was the most generous, kindest person that was totally into the proper spiritualism and the ethics of it. And he used to send me, well, he used to come to all my, I'm an actress, first nights, and I've got pictures and letters from him. And he was passionate about the ethics of spiritualism and the good for everybody. And Phil, I know you've done a great job, but I would love to, I've got the recordings here, because Bram always gave me the recordings, to help people that don't realise there's life after death. And there's some, well, he's got it in his book, but there's some wonderful recordings of a guy that passed over and he met his horse. It made me cry. But Phil, thank you for the memory of Leslie. He was the most generous, gorgeous person ever. I'm sorry, but I lived with him. I even went down with Roy to the house in Hove, and I used to go down every so often and help Bram with the garden. But he was so generous. And I never forget one time, it's too personal. I was in dire need. And I didn't want Leslie to read about it in the newspaper. It was nothing to do with me. So I went down and I phoned Bram and I said, "Bram, I need to come and see Leslie." He said, "Oh, all right, Ducky." He used to call me Ducky, and Leslie used to call me Lovey. And so I got down there and Leslie's sitting in the chair and Bram's done cakes and sandwiches and coffee. And I said, "Leslie, I need to tell you something. I've written it in my book. I've written a book about my life." And he said, "All right." I said, I need to tell you something." And he had his checkbook by the coffee table, because Bram did everything. And he said, "What do you?" I said, "I don't need anything. Do you need money?" I said, "No. All I want is to tell you what's happened. I don't want you to read it in the newspaper." He was willing to write me a check for anything.
Yeah.
And I said, "No, I couldn't. Sorry, I can't take that." He was, I can't tell you how lovely he was.
Yeah, I think it comes across really clearly just how much, obviously, you treasure those memories, Carol. Absolutely.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, I think it's great to hear that as well, because obviously my experience was one sitting, and I wish I'd gone back for more. But I mean, the trouble is when you look back on life, there's other stuff going on, with houses and homes and jobs and everything else, and I gradually got drawn away from it. I think I was involved from 1973 for about 5 years in spiritualism, and then I came away from it for 25 years, and then I came back, and then I'm heavily involved in it since then.
Yeah.
I'm a president of the Spiritualist Church. I get quite involved in it. I'm interested in the whole history of spiritualism, and helping people is the basic thing. But I mean, a couple of things that I've just remembered actually was I do remember steps up at the front of the. I mean, you could correct me if I'm wrong. Steps up at the front to the front door. So I vaguely remember going up, and also I remember being shown the cinema that he had in that flat as well. I mean, that looked really posh to me. I remember the red seats, you know, that sort of silly stuff sticks in your head. And then I do remember going in the bathroom and there were these gold-coloured taps, and I can't ever remember seeing them before that. So it's funny the memories that stick in your head and other things that go, but it's amazing. I mean, I would love to have known him more, etc. But I think his mediumship was something extraordinary, wasn't it?
It was natural. And I've always said to people, mediums, okay, everybody's psychic. Mediums are born physical or direct voice mediums. They're born to be it. You can develop the trance, right? You can, but you've got to have that physical or whatever you call it. My husband, who Leslie knew very well, was a trance medium. He was fantastic, but unknown. And we did our own thing. And I think trance mediums, physical mediums, are born to do it. Everybody's psychic. Not everybody's a medium. Can you hear me?
Yes, Carol.
Yeah.
All right. So I'm sorry. That's only my, Roy. You obviously.
I'm listening.
Oh, well, you know what Martin's trance was.
I felt very honoured and to know you and Martin and Leslie. I can't, you know, as I said before, we used to treat it like it was an everyday occurrence sitting with Leslie.
We didn't know what we had.
Exactly.
We didn't know what we had. I tell you what, we were sitting in circle with Lucia, right? Very quick.
Yeah, very well.
Chloe and Peter said, "Oh, let's. Why don't we get Leslie retired?" And I was nominated because I'm the gobby one, right? And I was nominated. You do it. So I went down to Leslie, and Bram gave me sandwiches and tea. And I said, "Leslie, Chloe, Peter, Roy and Lucia and me and Martin, why don't we do retired a home circle here in Hove?" And he had the perfect place. There was a loft up the top, right, of the house. You nearly broke your legs getting up there.
Yeah.
Perfect, wasn't it, Roy? And he said, "All right, lovely." So we went with Roy, didn't we, Roy?
Yeah.
Wait for years. We used to go down to Hove, climb up these effing stairs and sit in the dark. Bram never sat, did he, Roy?
He never sat.
No. Bram always used to put, well, we didn't have a recorder then, but Bram in the stable, you know, your room, used to put the recorder on, reel to reel, would you believe? Reel to reel, didn't he, Peter, Roy? And so we used to go up there every week. I don't know how long it was, Roy.
It was about 3 years before, and then, of course, Bram died, and that stopped it.
Yeah.
We didn't do it anymore. We didn't sit with Leslie anymore after Bramwell died.
I remember it was 3 years, Roy. We went down to Hove every week, didn't we?
I remember now, Cass, a long time ago.
Going up those stairs.
Yeah.
Well, Leslie obviously was a physical medium, right? Can you see me?
We can
No.
see it. I'm just mindful of the time, Carol,
All
and
right.
other people want to ask a question. So thanks ever so much. I don't mean to be rude. I just want to give anyone a fair chance. So thank
Please.
you. Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks, Carol. Bless you.
Cheers,
Right.
Carol.
Haley, do you want to unmute yourself, love?
I've just got a couple of observations. And I feel that your soundtrack to me was actually very clear. And the interference that you were describing, and it was at the start, because I do a lot of paranormal investigations, and I've got loads of audios where you get that, you know, it's like a tinkling sound, isn't it, in the background? It's the only way you can describe it. It's like this high-pitched tinkling. And over the years, I've worked out, this is my interpretation of it, is that that's the spirit world. There's all these different dimensions. They're coming in and talking, but it's at a different speed to hear. So you're getting this rush of energy coming in at the start as they come round close, because they're just as interested in what we're doing as we are in what they are doing, particularly in a séance situation. So I enjoyed listening to that. I'd forgotten about that, you see. I thought, yeah, I've heard that before. So to me, that represents the different frequencies coming through from the spirit world. And another observation is I was fortunate enough to transcribe for Carl the Amy Johnson séance. And I found that very interesting because I don't know if it was the first time she came through, but it was so slurred and so weak that it took a while to build the power up, and then she was off. And I thought, well, that was interesting. So that's a long time ago. I did that now, but that was really interesting learning to realise, again, on the other side, as they're coming in and working with the medium's energy, they have to practice that, don't they? And get used to the frequencies and the vibration. So I really enjoyed hearing your tape, Phil. Secret squirrel.
Very much.
Yeah, very secret squirrel. So yeah, no, thank you for that.
I mean, I was just going to say something about the circle I sat in, actually, because we used to sit in total darkness. Frank had this big piece of hardboard, and he went outside in the garden, put it up over the window, and every little corner, every chink of light was blotted out.
Yeah.
And believe it or not, he used to play vinyl records in the background when we were sitting, and he'd play this Sing Along with Max vinyl album. When it got to the end of one side, somewhere he'd turn it over in the dark and put the needle down on the start of it. And sometimes it didn't always arrive at the start, but I think after a few months of singing along with Max, I'd had enough.
Yeah.
But I mean, we did have some, when I was sitting there, we did have some phenomenal, like cold breezes, raps and taps, but
yeah,
you know, I lost contact with those people eventually, so I never found out how far they went with it all, and they passed away since. So yeah, I mean, I've heard direct voice since sitting in circles, you know, and round myself, but I've never really sat to develop it properly. But thanks for that, Haley.
Yeah, no, I enjoyed it. Thank you.
Thanks, Haley. Dawn, do you want to unmute yourself, my love?
Yeah, thank you, Andy, for putting this on. This has been absolutely fascinating, and I feel thank you so much for, you know, your recollections and stuff. It was fascinating, and I've listened to a lot of the Leslie Flint stuff on YouTube, and it is absolutely mind-blowing. So to actually hear first-hand account stuff is amazing. And I was thinking during the break, I was just kind of thinking, you know, what question would I want to ask? And what came to me to ask was about the preparations that Leslie took, and maybe Roy can sort of elaborate as well. But I'm just interested because I've only ever been to a couple of seances myself, and I'm just interested in, you know, because they make you, the ones I went to made you take jewelry off and stuff, and no crystals in the pockets, and you just alluded to the Sing Along with Max song there, and I just wondered, because some people, I've sat in a seance where they were singing to get the energy going and stuff, so I just wondered if there was any of that with the one that you went to at all.
I don't remember anything like that. I mean, it was perfectly natural. It's like you're going in for, you know, afternoon tea with somebody, you know.
Okay.
I mean, yeah, I've been to these so-called seances now, and there's a lot of paraphernalia and mumbo jumbo involved with it all.
Yeah.
I think a lot of it is like Carol said, you know, you're born with it.
Yeah.
I think the thing is to remember, even with Maurice Barbanel's his trance speaking with Silver Birch, that was developed as well. So basically, you're starting off on a good base, and you're building upon it. I mean, because to do sit-ins, you know, to the public, it's all right. Can do it in your friendly home circle, but to sit with people that might be antagonistic to you or anything else, you know, it's not the same energy level.
100%. To still be able to,
yeah, I think
I
that's
must
it. It's
just
getting the
say
right
as well,
combination. When you get the right combination of people together in a circle, the results can be mind-blowing. I mean, there's no reason why people can't sit for this sort of thing now, but it's just patience. I mean, if you sit in a pitch black room, you've just done a whole day's work, you're tired, you got home, you snatched a quick meal, you go off to your circle, you sit in a blacked out room, you can't see a thing for about an hour and a half or 2 hours. You know, week in, week out, you've got to have that level of dedication and patience. And it's not easy for a lot of people to do that.
Yeah. The energy was very strong. There was times when you were talking and I can't remember which bit it was now, whether it was one of the recordings we were listening to or when you were talking, but I was sitting there and I you know, I could feel my team coming in very close, and you know, there was a lot of energy coming in. But I just wanted to say thank you, and I was just curious about those preparations. But lovely to see you. Thank you.
And you. Thanks so much,
Bless,
Dawn.
thank you.
Helena, did you want to unmute yourself and just mention your question? No? What's happened to Helena?
Sorry, I just unmuted myself. Thanks,
Okay.
Andy. I'm just querying, does anyone know actually who transcribed the original messages for Leslie? Because obviously I've been doing a lot of history research in regards to Leslie Flint, as you know, Phil. Leslie Flint made his debut in Rochester Square Spiritualist Temple when Joseph Benjamin took sick. I was just wondering, because I've been doing research on his guide, and I've actually found his guide, but his surname is slightly different. The age, what he did, where he died, all fits. It's just that little barrier of the certain. So I was just wondering, in regards to, is there a possibility there might have been a bit of a, would you say, a transcribe error?
No.
In regards to Whitehead instead of Whitefield? Because Whitefield can be found. And his age.
No.
No?
I'm not sure. I can answer that one. Roy might be able to.
I'm just curious, because obviously I said, because we've got a link with the church, with Leslie, starting off there.
I think Carol's trying to answer. I think.
Sorry.
Possibly.
Apologies.
Can I? Oh, please. Can I?
Yeah, go on, Carol.
All Leslie's tapes were transcribed by Gwen Vaughan.
Okay.
Right? She lived in West London, well, Westbourne, wherever, near Leslie. I've got photographs of her, and can you hear me?
Yes, clearly.
Right. Gwen was devoted to Leslie. And I've got Christmas party photographs of Gwen, right? Dear lady. And Gwen used to go back to her house near Marble Arch and transcribe them all.
Okay.
She did all that, Gwen. I'm sorry. I'm a bit passionate about this. It's bringing back so many.
We all are. We all are.
Right. So Gwen Vaughan transcribed all Leslie's tapes, transferred them. Well, Bran used to record them on a reel-to-reel. And then he used to, he would say we'd like a copy, and then he'd put it on a little cassette. But Gwen, I don't know what Gwen did. She knew everything about Leslie. Sorry.
No need to apologise.
But I do, because I get very passionate.
No, as I say, we all are. It's just I've been doing research to try and clarify Leslie's guide. He does exist. It's just the first name is the same. It's just the tweaking of the last name is different. He can be allocated, found in Camden, as like in the recording from Leslie has been taken. The boy did exist, and he did die when he was 18 and in Camden Town.
Mickey?
Mickey. Yeah, it's just the surname is slightly off,
Mickey,
but the child did exist.
Roy would know that because we've researched it, and Roy Peters has the original painting, but I think Ivor James did, if Roy's still here.
Yeah, Roy.
In some, think where it is, Carol.
You don't know where it is?
Roy, what's your understanding then of
Mickey?
Of Mickey and the surname? I mean, look, what I will say is when I've done family tree stuff, which is unrelated, but you got to remember it's not an exact science with the people that recorded census details. I know my family's name, and yet the variations of one name throughout the census records, literacy wasn't necessarily at the height of its potential back then, and people would often write down how they heard a name rather than how it was actually spelt. So I'd kind of allocate a little bit of leeway to it. But Roy, what do you want to say? Because I'm mindful of time, guys.
The other name but Mickey for Mickey. I didn't know anything else about him. He always used to do, hello, everybody, and that was it. Hello, I'm Mickey here. And we talked to him. I never knew anything about him, about his name or where he came from.
Okay.
Unfortunately, my battery's running out on the computer, on the laptop.
Oh.
I might lose you.
Okay, that's fair enough. But look, that's a great question, Helena.
Thank you.
So, you know, it's always interesting to know. Back to you, Phil.
You caught me out there, Andy.
Back to you in the studio, Phil.
I need to think that. Oh yeah, I was going to mention about Debbie West. You know, my friend runs Hartford Spiritualist Church, and apparently she went to two Leslie Flint sittings, and she was invited to the first one because Frank, the guy I mentioned, you can hear him in those clips I played, was having chemo, so he wasn't well enough to go, and to fill her place, she was asked. His place asked if she would like to come along, but that first sitting she went to was a complete blank. See, I just wanted to make people aware that not every sitting was that, you know, successful. You know, there's a variation in that. I think that's one of the things with all this, that you get those sort of results. You can sit in a physical circle yourself, and you get 1 week, and it seems fantastic, and then the next 3 or 4 weeks, nothing.
We've had that.
Leslie used. And it was only the second sitting that Debbie went to that was successful, and there's some really interesting bits on her tape, and I hope Carl gets to get them on the website soon.
I think that's the great thing, though, that he was honest enough to say, look, guys, tonight we've fired a blank, and
nobody came through, Andy.
That's what you have to do, though, isn't it? But it's a sign of the integrity, isn't it? That someone would say, look, despite how far you've traveled, despite the money, and I know he would return the fees because he talks about it in his book. But despite all of that, he has the understanding, the awareness of himself to say, this hasn't worked tonight. And we just go away because we understand that we're working with something very subtle. So I think that's great.
There's another thing that came out when I listened to those recordings. You know, sometimes I feel, I know this might seem a bit odd, but sometimes I feel the spirit people hold things back from you. You know, the way they always say you've got to make your own decisions in life, and it's do you know what I mean? And that sometimes maybe things that they could reveal to you are too life changing. You know, at that moment in time in your life, and so it's almost, you know, if they revealed it to you, it would be interfering. So in other words, if somebody had come through that had been incredibly evidential to me then, you know, it might have changed the course of my life in a way that Do you know what I mean? It's hard to
Yeah.
explain it, but
No, it makes perfect sense though,
it's
doesn't it?
almost in
Because
holding back. Sometimes I feel that
right.
things are held back. That's what it is from the spirit messages and everything.
Because you know, they're not telling you where to walk. They're just saying that wherever you decide to walk, we'll be with you.
Yeah, but what they can tell you can influence what you do, can't they?
Big time. So this is why I reckon they would walk with you and come hell or high water, whatever decision
Yeah.
you make, whether you decide to go left or right, that's your choice. But whichever direction you choose, they'll still be with you. And so it's like your spirit influences seemed to me quite clear 50 years ago, Phil, that they wanted you to develop physical and trance. But you decided to follow whatever path you felt was right for you. And so there was a divergence of the paths. They gave you the information, but it was up to you what you did with it, and you did something different to what they said. But that's not to say your path was wrong. So
no, and the fascinating thing about it is when I came back to it all, the reason why we came back to it all, Jackie and I had met up with each other, and we started getting phenomena in the house, and when we were outside, and you know, it's just so bizarre. And the things that were happening were just so bizarre. Things were being thrown off the shelves in front of us in supermarkets and other places, and in the house, all sorts of weird stuff. You know, you could say it was a poltergeist phenomena if you want to, but then a lot of spiritualist phenomena goes back to that period.
It's almost Phil. Sorry, Carol. It's like they were trying to get your attention.
Yeah.
Almost.
Something very quickly.
Please.
Please. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Go ahead, Carol. You're okay.
Very quickly, and I will go because I am a gob. My husband was a medium, right? And he was going on platform, and he was. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Right. This is very relevant to what you're saying. And my husband was obsessed by getting a new car. So he drove up north to get a new car. And he thought, oh, spirit will work with me. And he didn't prepare himself. And he got the new car, went back to the spiritualist church because he did churches. And he thought, oh, they'll be all right. Didn't prepare himself. And he got on platform, got nothing. Nothing. And he stood there. Can you hear me? And he stood there and he got nothing. And he thought, fuck, what am I going to do? And so he just said, I'm sorry, folks, I have nothing. He used to see lights on people's heads and give them messages. Got nothing. And he thought, oh, God. Thank you. I'm so sorry. I've got nothing. I'll just talk. And then suddenly they came in, gave him a message. It gave him the biggest wake-up call going.
Yeah.
You can't do it without them, and they can't do it without.
That's exactly it. Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, it is I think that's one of the issues, that people don't listen to the spirit. The spirit people should be teaching people, you know, and not necessarily tutors at the Arthur Findlay College.
Contentious subject there. Quick.
I know, but I've got to
someone
be
just
honest
threw a
with
hand grenade in the room and closed the door. Boom. But look, it is what it is. We learn from the mistakes as much as the successes, don't we? But Phil, oh, sorry, Carol, you're muted. I don't know if you needed to say anything else. Phil, what else do you want to share, my friend? And also, do you want to mention anything about the silver birch stuff as well later?
Yeah, somebody put a question on there about when I came back to it, I think 2003, 2002.
Yeah.
And then I was reluctant to go back to spiritualist churches because I think what would happen in the back of my mind. I ended up going on committees and getting involved, and now I quite enjoy doing talks about related subjects because I'm very much against the idea of pigeonholing spiritualism and saying this is what it is. It's got to fit in this box. Because you know, having had these discussion groups and talked about various subjects, it's incredible the experiences that people have in life. You know, things you could just possibly write off, or you can say, "Well, I don't believe that ever happened to them." Stuff like that. These things do happen. People have these paranormal experiences and all sorts of related things they experience. They see stuff that aren't meant to exist and all sorts of things. So I think we should take that into account as well, because it's the only way we can get a bigger understanding of our place, what we're doing here,
You too.
what the universe is all fundamentally about.
I think that's a really good point. And there's one experience that I want to share that makes me feel that the validity of the spirit world or life after death isn't about evidence in my mind. All right. So just before COVID started, I had the chance to go to Sardinia, sorry. And we were sitting with a guy from America called Warfield Moose, and he's from the Lakota tribe. And he performs a ceremony called a Yuwipi ceremony. And he happened to be with one of the hosts or the people who organized it was Kai Mugi. Anyway, Kai was there as kind of like a guest, and he wasn't doing his stuff. But what happened within this seance, we were in the top of this very big building, and it was a huge like attic room, so very easy to black out, and it was obviously held at night time. So anyway, we went to this seance room, and there was about, I must say, about 40 plus people, and you would all walk in, and everything was ceremonial. So when you walked into the room, you had to walk to the left, and you would not walk past other people. The people would form basically a massive ring all the way around the room, and then eventually the last person was near the door. And lots of Lakota healing songs were sang by Warfield's friends and his family that had come over from America too. And so there is all of this stuff happening. And it was the most wonderful experience, about 3 hours. Then there was a point at which they have a blanket called a star blanket. And it's a sacred part of the ceremony. And he invited about 12 people to sit under this star blanket, and then he started off what would become like the phenomena. So I'm sitting under this star blanket, and there's these other people, and he does these prayers in Lakota, and he's doing this, and there was a gourd rattle. So a gourd is a fruit, isn't it? It's like a fruit or a vegetable. Anyway, this gourd rattle had been made and brought over from the States, and it was hollow, and it had a stick just like a normal rattle. And yet, under me, under this blanket, this gourd rattle had lightning flashing within the rattle itself. It was like I was looking at a storm in a cloud from like 50 miles away, but it was inside this rattle, right in front of my eyes. I mean, right in front of my eyes. I defy anyone to tell me how that happened. But we then moved past this bit where the blanket is over the top of your heads. And then part of the ceremony is that Warfield gets wrapped in the blanket and bound up so that basically he looks like a giant caterpillar. All right. And he cannot move. His arms are inside the blanket. He's wrapped up. He looks like I don't know what, a taco. So there's part of this ceremony was where he spoke to us, and he would say that one of his grandmothers that was in spirit was going to come and do some doctoring. And so that is their way of saying healing. So we're sitting, the backs to the wall, and you can't move. People are squashed in like sardines. And there's this rattle comes over again. This time the lightning's not happening it. And then there's this Lakota woman's voice is like whispering, and she's doing like healing prayers right in front of me. And then this gourd rattle is tapping me on the head, not on the forehead. It's just doing this. It's tapping, and I can hear this Lakota conversation happening right in front of me. Now, you couldn't get cigarette paper between people. And so there is no way anyone could be walking around that room and whispering to me. And it wasn't really, really pitch black. There was enough light to be able to see something. And that wasn't even the most amazing bit. There was then this section, this occasion where I heard this phenomenally loud wing beats of a bird, and it was obviously a massive bird. I mean, it really, I don't want to do an impression of a bird, but you get the feeling. Think about the most huge eagle you can possibly imagine, and think about it flapping slowly its wings. And not only are you hearing it, you are then feeling, I can feel the breeze of the wind as it hits me in the face, as this eagle is flying around the room. And you can hear the wings and you can feel the breeze of the bird as it flies. Now, at no point during any of that ceremony was it necessary to prove evidence, to give survival. What was done, what made it beautiful, was you felt the presence of those spirit people. You felt the love that was being shared in the healing experience that was going on. And that was really what moved me. I felt the presence of my guides with me, and we were experiencing it together. And so at no point were there demands placed upon the spirit people, but it was an act of love. It was an act of healing, and everyone coming together contributed to the same cause. And that is what truly made it the most memorable experience of anything I've seen, including sitting in seances. That will live with me longer. And so I kind of go against the people that say you have to prove everything. And I go, well, I have to prove nothing to you. But if you're experiencing the love and the real presence of spirit, that is the proof that you need. If you're not feeling the presence of spirit in your seance room, I would question whether they were there. Because sure as eggs are eggs, all of you have a heart. All of you know how to feel emotion. And if spirit are there, you'll feel them. I'm going on a rant, but I'll shut up now. But that is the truth as I see it. Phil, over to you.
Well said, Andy. Well said. I mean, I've been running the drumming and Native American flute circle for nearly 10 years, and the energy that builds up in there, I mean, it's not really anything to do with spiritualism, really, but we've had phenomena take place, within the circle and everything.
Absolutely.
And you know that there's a presence with you all the time when you're there, and the healing energies that build up during it. I would encourage everybody to really look at themselves and see what matches with their spiritual experience, because one person's might be different to another. For one person, it might be going out, climbing up the top of a mountain in the Lake District, looking at a fantastic view and experiencing a godlike experience.
Yeah,
I think people need to find their own skills and match themselves to the world they see around them.
Yeah.
One of the other things I was going to say is that my parents went to, well, it's a long story, but we met Maurice Barnwell years ago, and my parents got invited to a silver birch circle, and I've got a tape recording of that circle. And in a similar way, I'm not an expert on Maurice Barnwell or silver birch, but I do a similar thing, talking about Maurice and silver birch and playing some of the excerpts from the recording, if you'd like me to, at a later date.
What do you reckon, guys? Worthwhile? Who wants to hear something about an actual silver birch recording? I think there's a few thumbs up there, Phil.
Yeah, there's not many recordings, so somebody said to me. I mean, that you can buy a few, like in the shop at the college, and well, it's very limited apparently. I don't know why, but
well, I'd just like to hear it from the horse's mouth rather than someone else's thing. So yeah, if you want to do that, guys,
Andy.
Hey,
yeah, it's 1973 that goes back to. So
that's before I was born.
How old do you say you
are? I'm only 21 though, so that's a long time before.
Oh, you're
I
going
was
back.
born.
You're winding your life backwards.
No. No, I'm only 21 in my mind. Well, in my mind, I'm about 10. Yeah, but yeah. No, I am now in my 6th decade. If I'm 50. Oh God. So yeah, Phil, I would really love that, a silver birch chat. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, well, I'd like to thank everybody for coming on.
Thanks,
There's
Dawn.
more people than I thought, and I hope you enjoyed it.
Yeah.
And I hope you go off and look at the Leslie Flint Trust website and get the book as
Yeah.
well. I would strongly recommend getting the book. And thanks for all the messages on there. I haven't had time to read them all. And hopefully Andy will save the chat if you can, Andy.
Yeah, I'm going to. Yeah, absolutely.
And then I
And
can
look,
have a look at it afterwards.
so firstly, massive thanks to Phil. It was great to meet him and Jackie, near where I live a few weeks back. And then
Jackie.
to spend time, there's Jackie, bless her heart. Love Jackie. But it's just wonderful to hear from someone that was there. And thank you to Carol and thank you to Roy and anyone else that shared in some sort of way. It is nice to think about people like that as the pioneers, but that doesn't preclude you from making the same sort of difference in whatever way you connect to spirit. So who cares whether you're 50, 70, 80, you can still make a difference by connecting with love. And I think really that's all we need to do. So at some point we will organize a Silver Birch chat with Phil, and that'd be amazing. I'll really look forward to that. But for now, for those of you that have attended, I really appreciate it. If you're watching this as a recording, then thank you for watching the recording. Feel free to reach out to Phil. All right. So he's on FaceAche. We call it FaceAche because that's really what it is, isn't it? So you can get contact him on FaceAche and reach him there. Or you can follow me on my mediumship page if you want to know when I actually do anything. And yeah, thank you for all attending. Absolutely loved it. So it's nice to see so many.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Absolute pleasure. And for those of you that are in anywhere remotely near America or even the UK, in May next year, I'll be in Massachusetts running an experimental trance and transfiguration / physical week with Jan Higgins, and she's going to be doing experimental aura clearance therapy. So if you are in the vicinity of Massachusetts, we will be there next May. Or if you want to do trance or physical in April, I'm also running a retreat in North Wales. I think pretty much I've got one space left, maybe two. But yeah, so I am weird, but I embrace it fully. And if you feel you're weird enough to join me, then feel free. But I won't blame you if you didn't quite. You don't quite get my weird.
That you are weird.
I am weird, but I always have been. Like, I try to hide it, but you know how it is. It always gets out in the end.
You take care, a lot of you.
Take care. Really appreciate
thanks
it.
to Carol and Roy.
Thank you, Carol. Thank you, Roy.
Bye-bye.
Cheers, me old dears.
Chin chin. See you
Chin
tomorrow.
chin and toodle pip. Yes, crikey, yeah, I'm teaching tomorrow. Blimey, I forgot about that.
Yeah, see you tomorrow.
See you tomorrow. More trance. Cool.
Yeah. It'd
Really?
be nice if you could save the chat though, because there's loads of stuff on here. And I can't seem to save it at my end. Then I can have a look through
If not, you'll have to copy it all out.
Oh my giddy aunt. Right, let me see if there's a way of me doing that now.
There must be some way.
Oh, Jackie, there probably is. Oh, hello. Yes, no, I think when it records, I do get the chat.
Oh dear, that's good. Anyway, I'm going to say cheerio now, but hope to catch up with you soon, Andy.
Phil, it's been a pleasure. Jackie, thank you for being his glamorous assistant, my love.
Oh.
Yeah, he's like...
You're just trying to charm her, aren't you?
Charmer. What do you mean trying? I am.
Yeah, go on.
Phil, it's been a real pleasure. Catch you later, mate.
Yeah, see you. Bye.
See you later.
Take care.
Bye now. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.